Welcome to my home circuit here at Castle Combe in Wiltshire. It's a deceptively technical track and can be ever so fast, so we're going to have some interesting racing here for the fourth meeting of the BRSCC Toyo Tyres Porsche Championship. The cars are lined up behind me for their first race, so Richard, it's over to you.
Thanks Rachel. Round 9 of the championship about to get underway here at Castle Combe, and it's the championship leader that set the pace in qualifying. Richard Styrin, he is on pole position. James Coleman alongside Gary Lawrence and Richard Avery on row 2. Third row, Kevin Molyneux and Nick Hull. Championship leader in the 924 set the pace in qualifying 2. That's Linda Warren from Pip Hammond. Then Nizar El Chamar and Jamie Callender. John Broadley is next from Cole Rossin, and the grid completed by Bernie Printy and Darren House. Rick Styrin in black and yellow. Next to him, baring its teeth, is the white 00 of James Coleman. Coleman 3/10 down on Richard Styrin in qualifying. Rick Styrin again continuing to set the pace in this championship. Most successful driver in the championship. Lighting sequence well underway. 5 lights on. Off they go. Very quick switch off by the start marshal. And it's Rick Styrin, I think, who's got the best of the starts. Look at Gary Lawrence, though, the black and blue car coming through the middle. Inspired start by Gary Lawrence up into second place and challenging Rick Styrin for the lead. Going down through Folly and Avon Rise they go. And it's Gary Lawrence, I think, with his nose in front. Styrin up the inside line. Lawrence turns in, back end wants to come around a little bit. That scrubs some speed off. Third place is James Coleman. Nick Hull goes side by side with Kevin Molyneux. What a frantic start from the 6 Boxsters that we have here through the S's for the first time. Now heading down in towards Old Paddock Bend. You can see the second commentary box on the outside there. And it's Rick Styrin leading, Gary Lawrence in second. And coming under pressure from James Coleman. Coleman slightly tighter here. Is he going to have a look down the inside line? The back end's coming around. This could be nasty. He's on the grass, misses the marshal post. Once you're on the grass, though, you're a passenger. Full jar ace and winds up facing the right rail. I think Coleman thought there was half a gap there. And, well, hats off to him for having a little nibble, having a look. Lots of grass cuttings up in the air. Coleman's going to rejoin. Watch for the lead 924s to go past. Linda Warren followed by Pip Hammond. They go into the Bobby's chicane, but the race leader is Richard Styrin. Second position, Gary Lawrence. Fine start by Lawrence. Third is Richard Avery. Nick Hull down behind Kevin Molyneux at the moment, and looking pretty keen to try and get that position done, but a lot of work now needs to be done by James Coleman in double zero. Here he comes, he's off the track. James Coleman bang into the tyre wall. I think bounced back slightly out of that. I was about to say that he's got, we're going to have to see a recovery drive from him. We're going to have to see a recovery of a different sort. Oh, we've got Nizar El Chamar off in a big way as well. Here's James Coleman. I've got to say, the car wasn't sticking out or didn't bounce back off the tyres as much as I initially thought it did. So comes into Camp Corner. Just wasn't the grip there, and bang, nasty hit into the tyre wall. He's out of the race, first retiree of the weekend, and Niz does the same thing. Now, was there fluid down there, or did Niz come out in sympathy? He's certainly deranged the tyres in a big way. Heavily waved yellow flags at that situation on the circuit, and we've got a handle off from Rick Styrin. Well, the officials have had a good look at the scene and decided to bring the race to a halt and make a full and complete recovery of the 2 stricken cars there in the safest way possible. So a sensible call from the race officials here at Castle Combe. It does give us a restart in the same grid order. Only 1 lap of racing had elapsed, and it means that the restart will see Rick Styron still on pole position. The gap where James Coleman was, and that means that we can see through to row 2. Black and blue, Gary Lawrence, great start, first time of asking. And then Richard Avery, and of course the 924s will still be headed by Linda Warren and Pip Hammond. Linda might be a little bit miffed about that because she had a very good start from pole in race number 1 and was heading Pip Hammond in the early stages, but all's fair, of course. Could happen to anybody at any time of the season. Course car coming into shot there at the left-hand side back of your screens, and we look for the lighting sequence once again. Round 9 of the championship about to get underway. 4 on now, 5. Lights out, quick turnaround again from the starting gantry, and it's Richard Styron that leads them off the line again. Gary Lawrence is in second place, Richard Avery to the outside, and Lawrence again, very quick indeed, up through the gears and challenging Rick Styron here. They're side by side going down through Folly and Avon Rise. Here's the view from Jamie Callender, qualified 4th in the 924s. Callender, maybe not the start he wanted because he's got Carl Rossin 2 cars ahead of him. Rossin in the red and white car. Carl Rossin starting well from 6 on the grid and has made progress off the start in the 924s. Into the S's they go for the first time, and it's Gary Lawrence who comes through in lead position. Lawrence, the race leader from Rick Styron. This is not going to be therefore easy for Rick Styron, the multi-champion in this class. Richard Avery 3rd. Kevin Molyneux's been passed by Nick Hull, so those two having a good old scrap as well. Here's the view from Nick, who goes through the chicane and has now got to try and set about Richard Avery, heading down in towards Camp Corner, which we've already seen bite big time on the first start. Oh, a little bit of a wobble there, it nearly bites again. Gary Lawrence, he collected it up well, but lost momentum, and back through into the lead goes Rick Styron, the pole man, and Richard Avery is having some of that lost momentum as well, or making the most of that lost momentum and looking through on the inside line and takes second place. So Gary Lawrence is down to 3rd, having led impressively, and this is the view from the 4th place car. Nick Hull, 4th position, but for how long? Because Kevin Molyneux wants the place back. These two scrapping hard in these early stages. Molyneux goes through on the inside line, fast, clean, but very fair racing between the Boxsters here. Coming down into Old Paddock Bend. Then it's the run through Hammerdown down into Tower Corner. Styron the leader, Richard Avery is in second place from Gary Lawrence. Second chicane on the circuit is Bobby's. Now this, as I said, the first time that I can remember this championship racing. For sure the Boxsters have not raced here at Castle Combe. It may well be back in the day that the 924s did. The 924 championship has been running since 1992. But while I've been working on the championship, certainly the 924s, while I've been working on the championship, it hasn't visited Castle Combe. So it's a new experience for these drivers, and it is a real challenge. You talk to anybody in the racing world or who've done track days, they'll tell you that Castle Combe is unique for many reasons. And I'll come back and talk about the track a little bit later on, but it's Pip Hammond, second place in the 924s. The car in front, Linda Warren, the championship leader, who clearly had another very good start from pole position. Now let's see what Pip Hammond can do. Pip back with us, sharing the car this year with Gavin Johnson. Pip and Linda very much engaged in battle at the moment, and meanwhile, quick look back to the Boxsters. Kevin Molyneux trying to close down on Gary Lawrence, but the back end again wants to come around, and this time winds up on the outside of the track. So we've seen back end breakaways on Boxsters result in cars ending up on the inside of the circuit and on the outside. And if you ever wonder why we have so many yellow flags and safety cars, it's because, you know, cars can end up anywhere, and that's what the organisers want to avoid: further contact and further damage to cars, and of course marshals, observers and race drivers who might be in the cars. So Nick Hull goes through, and we go back to this enthralling battle for the lead in the 924s. Linda Warren still there at the moment. Pip Hammond is trying to wind himself up to make a move, and you can see most of the time, or for a fair amount of the time, following the exact wheel tracks of Linda Warren, who's very clearly done her homework around the track and knows where she wants to place the car. And Linda, for my money, not being overly defensive. Tight line there, maybe a bit defensive, but goes wide and leaves the door open, and Pip Hammond's going to go down the inside to take the lead, but Linda Warren has some momentum on the outside and hangs on to the lead. Fantastic racing. Linda carries that momentum through into the S's and hangs on to lead position. Wonderful stuff indeed. And Pip Hammond must be scratching his head to wonder how to get past, and really you feel that perhaps it's going to be a mistake by Linda Warren for him to get past. Wider line here, so he's using all the momentum that he can get. Again, he's got to try and close in first and then make the move. Wide line here, so he could well close up, and indeed does close up, going into Bobby's. And we've got the run through Westway, the Dean Straight, and down into Camp Corner. Pip now goes for the wide line coming onto Camp Corner and stays wide, and is going to have a go for the lead. They're side by side coming across the line, and this is all about a wide sweep for Pip Hammond. It looks like Linda Warren is still in front, but Pip's going to stay on the outside line. They're still side by side, and is Hammond going to go through? Linda Warren, the pole sitter, is still there, but there goes Pip Hammond through into the lead of the 924s. Welcome back to Castle Combe. Just before the break, we saw Linda Warren deposed from the lead by Pip Hammond. Pip in his fourth race of the year, fourth race in the championship in actual fact, and he was unbeaten at Snetterton back on the 3rd of April, where he took 3 wins out of 3. Linda Warren was second in all of those, and in fact Linda, in the 8 races so far, she's finished all of the races either in first or second in class, and in fact statistic doesn't have the look of a championship title of it, then I don't know what does. Here's Rick Styron, though, the race leader, followed by Richard Avery, who's keeping Styron very, very honest indeed at the moment. So it is, without doubt, a battle for the lead of the Boxsters, a gap back to Gary Lawrence in 3rd place. Gary looking to maintain the podium form, which he found last time out at Alton Park. But there is Rick Styron, who has only been beaten once so far this season. That's to Ed Hayes, who again, sadly not with us this weekend, the defending champion. Styron champion back in 2013, as well as 2012. Following that, of course, we had Jonathan Greensmith and Ed Hayes taking championship titles. Here's the view from Pip Hammond, though. Goes through Old Paddock and still being chased by Linda Warren. As I said, Linda so consistent this year. Has had many fastest laps, but incredibly 100% finishing record and 100% podium. And in fact, it's not just podium, it's either been first or second every race for Linda Warren this year. And it looks like she will maintain that. John Broadley is passed by the leading 2 Boxsters. John actually running in good pace in the 924s. That's Jamie Callender, who's in 3rd position at the moment in the 924s. So Jamie looking to bag a first podium in the 924s. The man from Bournemouth, car number 24, Rick Styron, has a little bit of a wobble coming out of Bobby's again. It is such a tricky circuit, it really can bite, and that may sound like a bit of a cliche, but you've seen the back end of these cars wanting to break away so many times in this race already. Styron now breaking clear from Richard Avery, and it looks like Richard Styron will continue to extend his record-breaking run of wins that he's had in this championship. So Styre in the lead, Richard Avery in second. Gary Lawrence there passes the back-marking 924s. He's on his way to yet another career podium. But Rick Styre showing the rest of them a clean pair of heels. Funnily enough, fastest lap though is with Richard Avery, the second place driver. That was on lap 10. So Avery, fastest man on circuit, 1:16.868, and that's Richard Avery's first fastest lap of the season. Bernie Printy in car number 26. He's running 7th in the 924s, and that's the orange 924 who's been passed. But here comes Richard Styre. Richard Avery, as we said, has looked fast and indeed proved to be fast in the closing stages of the race, but the checkered flag is ready, and there it is. Richard Styre takes his 8th win of the season from 9 races. He is delighted to do that. Richard Avery looks happy with second place. Gary Lawrence in third. Back to the 924 battle. Pip Hammond and Linda Warren still on the overall lead lap, so they've done tremendously well. And Linda Warren, as you can see, not too far behind Pip Hammond at the moment. Just around about a second or so between the pair of them. Pip's got the fastest lap of the class so far. That was on lap 11, the lap before the one we're on. And Linda Warren closing down, but it looks like it's going to be Pip Hammond to remain unbeaten. It's his 4th start of the year and will be a 4th win of the season for Pip. Linda Warren taking 2nd place and 3rd position in the 924s, going the way of John Broadley. But here's the result for the Boxsters. Rick Styre for Richard Avery, Gary Lawrence 3rd, then Nick Hull, Kevin Molyneux in 5th. That non-finish in the first start with James Coleman, Richard Avery taking fastest lap. And in the 924s, Pip Hammond from Linda Warren, John Broadley in 3rd. He got the better of Jamie Callender, then Carl Rossin, Darren House and Bernie Printy, Hardline's Nizar El Chamar.
Rick, you weren't actually leading that all of the time. How did it feel having Richard breathing down your neck for a while there?
I think it's the pair of them. I think Gary got an incredible start and he was leading. Then I snuck up the inside of Gary, and then Richard had a fantastic race. To start with, our car was set up nicely, and then as it got hot, this incredibly hot day, our car started to fade, and Rich and his car were coming really strong, and then we had a bit of backmarker traffic and stuff to make it exciting.
Is the car set up well for the track here? Do you feel it's running well out there?
Yeah, on Thursday we did an awful lot of work and had it perfect, and then this morning in qualifying the same setup worked, and then it's become red hot, so everything we've learned might not be relevant now, so we need to go back to the drawing board.
Well, it's all to play for tomorrow then, can't wait to watch.
Yeah, I think you've got a mixture of Rich flying, James Coleman from the back, and Gary's enjoying the new car he's got this weekend, so it should be fun.
Yeah, let's hope James is back out to play tomorrow.
Absolutely, I'm sure he will. They're working feverishly away in the background.
They certainly are. We wish them the best of luck and your good self too tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Richard, a great start to the race for you, but all to do all over again second time round.
Yes, it was a eventful race, 2 starts. Shame about James Coleman obviously in the first race. It was all action though, it was quite a lot of action. I was obviously trying to chase down Rick Styre, which would have been nice to got a little bit closer to him.
You certainly were, and you were actually preventing him from streaking off into the distance this time, so well done.
Yeah, I'd like to think I was putting a little bit of pressure on him. He did show, there was a few cracks appearing, he was losing a few bits and pieces, and see him have a few moments on the last but one lap. But yeah, it was a good race, it was a enjoyable race, but hard work to keep it there.
And your plans for tomorrow's race, are you happy with the car as it is, or having been out today, will you be adjusting it for tomorrow to try and hunt Rick down even harder?
I think I'll probably keep it as it is. Unfortunately, I did catch a 924 in a chicane and just tapped my steering. Sorry to Jamie Callender about that, but not with tracking out, so I'll probably just go through the car and make sure it's all running true again.
Gary, congratulations on 3rd. From 3rd on the grid, but it wasn't without trying. A bit of a start moment there for you?
To be fair, yeah, I had a little bit of a creep off the start, but what happened was Camp Freddie Styre had a little creep and I followed him on, and I think Moobs Avery had a little moment as well. But all in all, it was I was a little bit disappointed not to stay with him because I think the pace early on was good. The red flag was a bit of a problem for us, but no, it was good.
It was definitely an action-packed race, even with such a small grid.
Yeah, it's a shame that. I mean, it was a small grid this time. But the thing is, when you're racing, and you're racing with, you're generally racing in a small group of guys anyway. So for us, it's no different. But the pace was good. It was fairly clean, I think. First corner can be a bit of a drama here. I think one of our guys, Kev, I think he rammed one of the lads, but he hasn't been doing it very long, so we sort of forgive him for that. But no, generally, no, pretty good. I mean, I did get a 10-second penalty, but fortunately, Nick and Kev were so slow that I still got third, so that was all right.
Pip, that was quite a race out there today. Not quite a two halves, but definitely two parts. How was the restart for you?
The restart, I actually fluffed the restart a little bit. I got to the first corner about fourth, which was obviously not ideal, but a bit aggressive on the first lap with John. I knew he wouldn't want to scratch that nice new car, so I gave him. It wasn't a shove, but it was nearly a shove. And then it was on and after Linda, and she put up a really good fight in the race, and she was a lot more aggressive than she was at the start of the season last time I was out. So it's good to see her finding her feet and give me a real race of it.
Linda, congratulations on second. How are you finding Castle Combe?
Fantastic track. I really enjoyed it. I was a bit disappointed that Pip managed to get me in the end, but we had a fantastic race. I think Castle Combe's a fantastic track, and can I just say I would like to thank Tony McKinsky for hiring me the car. What a fantastic car it is, and Barry Groves from the Fizz company for sponsoring me, and also Rick Styron, who gave me a whole day on Friday coaching me around this track. I don't think I would have got the pace if Rick hadn't have helped me so much, and obviously my husband who supports me all the way. It's fantastic. But what a race. I got off to a really good start. I tried to hold Pip off, but I know Pip's a very talented driver. He's got such quick pace, and I knew I'd be struggling to keep it up, the pace to keep Pip behind me, and he managed to get me in the end. But the last couple of laps, I did try and get him, we were closing the gap, but we ran out of time, and I think I was running out of energy.
It's got pretty hot out there pretty quickly, hasn't it?
It was really, really hot. I mean, in the car, it's just so hot, with everything on, and it's so humid this weekend. It was a shame. It threw me a bit when we got red flagged, and poor James Coleman and Niz, it's always unsettling when it's red flagged and you have to be restarted. But thankfully they're both okay. Yeah. But it ended up, it was a good race. Pip and I really battled it out, and
Yeah, he was saying he really enjoyed it, incidentally. So he's enjoying going up against you.
Yeah, and I'm quite happy with second place. I'll certainly take those points.
Yes, yeah, big good points for your championship. So best of luck for race 2 tomorrow.
That's great. Thanks very much.
John, congratulations on third at the 924s today. Tell us about how it came about. New car.
It was a bit of everything, really. I've not been to the circuit before, so I came here a couple of weeks ago and had a little day with the racing school just to try and learn the track a bit. And then I went out and qualified this morning but it's a car I'd never driven before. The car was built over the last 2 or 3 months by Victoria Garage, and the first time I sat in it was this morning in qualifying. So
wow!
All a bit of a steep learning curve.
A very successful learning curve.
In the first, I think I came 5th in qualifying this morning. I was still learning the track and learning the car. And then, of course, we did the first start in the race, and I managed to get 5th gear instead of 3rd gear halfway around the lap, and lost about a lot of time on the cars in front.
So were you very grateful for that restart then after the red flag?
Absolutely. This couldn't have worked better for me.
Well, it's paid off, and I, for one, can't wait to see your results tomorrow in race 2. Best of luck.
Looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
The cars are lined up behind me for the second race of the weekend, and I'm going to try and catch up with James Coleman because he had quite a big off yesterday, and it's taken quite a lot of work to get the car back on the grid. He's going to be starting from near the back, but the car is effectively back in one piece, and going to try and hurry up and catch him before he climbs into the car. James, can we have a quick word just before you get your helmet and everything on for the race? Sorry if you're getting yourself into the zone, but tell us and talk us through what you've had to do to get the car back on the grid for today.
Luckily, it was mainly cosmetic. The underside was absolutely fine. It didn't even throw the geometry out. So it was just bumper, wing, radiator pack, wing mirror, and a good straighten out with the rear quarter. So it's good to go. Looking forward to today, starting at the back. We've had all the weight taken out, so we're going to be light. Hopefully we'll be quick. Be a bit more patient today, and hopefully bring it home in a good spot.
Car's good to go. How are you feeling?
Really good, yeah, really good. Eager to get out. So.
And Richard, over to you. Take us through that grid, please.
Thanks, Rachel. Good to hear from James Coleman. Nizar El Chamar is back out as well. Similar story to Alton Park for him. Rick Styron on pole from Richard Avery, and then Jerry Taylor and Nick Hull lines up in fourth. Fifth on the grid, Kevin Molyneux, and then James Coleman, the man we just heard from. What about the 924s? Well, race one winner, Pip Hammond, starts on pole position with Linda Warren alongside. Then it's John Broadley and Jamie Callender. Carl Rossin alongside Darren House, Bernie Printy and the refettled Nizar El Chamar. Will he be able to do a back-to-front race as he did at Alton Park last time out? A little bit slow off the line was Darren House, and Nizar took some avoiding action, went round the outside line. You can see Bernie Printy looking up the inside line, going through Folly for the first time. But Nizar's made a decent enough start. So too has Rick Styron. And again, very fast out of the blocks is Gary Lawrence. Lawrence really on form with his starts here today. I've got to say, when you look back at the footage from the starts in race one, you know, he held his hand up, but it's, I guess, so marginal about fast start, but he was well clear, and it was a good podium. To get a podium with a 10-second penalty, great result for Gary Lawrence, and he's up in second place. But look, already up into fourth is that Benton Bash 00 car of James Coleman. He's made it past two cars already, but significantly Richard Styron starting to put some tarmac between himself and Gary Lawrence, and Richard Avery in second place. Kevin Molyneux in yellow piling the pressure at the moment on James Coleman. Nick Hull, as ever, in close attendance in sixth position, and a good 924 scrap going on right behind those guys as well. But we stay focused on the Boxsters. Here comes Nick Hull looking up the inside line, nothing quite doing there into camp. Here's the view from Pip Hammond. Carl Rossin is immediately in front, so Pip hasn't had the best of starts by any stretch of the imagination. Carl Rossin about to be passed. It's Linda Warren, I think, in the race lead at the moment from John Broadley in blue, and we'll keep our eyes on what happens in the 924 battle, of course, through the course of the race. Meanwhile, coming down into the S's, Rick Styron building that lead. This quartet of cars, in fact really a quintet, isn't it, because Nick Hull's there as well. Quintet of cars all dicing over second place, and they're going to compromise their lap speeds by getting involved. You can see Gary Lawrence under big pressure from Richard Avery here, and Avery looks for second place too far back. Lawrence, I think, knew that he had the run there, but the fact that these cars are dicing means that they are forming the train, effectively compromising lap times and allowing Rich Styron to get away. This is exactly what Richard Styron wants. Temperature wise, I think a little bit cooler than we saw in yesterday's race one of the weekend. That could play into the hands of Rick Styron. He was talking about temperatures to Rachel in the interview post race one, and saying that all the work they'd done on the test day had gone out of the window. I think that maybe has come back. Here we go in car though with the 924s, and Jamie Callender looking immediately ahead at Carl Rossin. Carl's second meeting of the year. He had 3 podium appearances at Rockingham. Basically, the way the season's panned out so far, to give you a flavour of what the championship's like: treble header at Snetterton in April, treble header, second event of the year at Rockingham in May. Alton Park, difficult to get a treble header there because of track time, but a double header in June, double header here at Castle Combe, because it's an absolutely packed, jam-packed race day that the BRSCC have put on. But by and large, many of the events in this championship, treble headers, fantastic value for money, and a lot of track time for these drivers in the Boxster class and indeed in the 924s. And again, I harp on about the history of this championship, but it's been going for the 924s at least since 1992. The Boxsters coming in 2010. Plenty of life left in both classes for sure, and we very much welcome the opportunity to talk to prospective drivers. And off goes Jamie Callender into the tyres. Callender is out of the race. He was on the outside line. He's on the grass there, and you're only ever going to be a passenger on the grass. Carl Rossin wanted the line into the corner, and Jamie Callender is out of the race. In race 1, I was going to talk about characteristics of this circuit. And one of the characteristics is there is nowhere near as much runoff as you get at many other circuits in the UK. It's a fast circuit. The average lap times here are knocking on in the Boxster class, knocking on to 90 miles an hour. And that's with the punctuations of those 2 chicanes. So bear that in mind. Bear in mind that there is very little in the way of runoff, and this circuit can really, really bite, as we saw there for poor old Jamie Callender in the 924s, who's out of it. Gary Lawrence still in second. What a great race we've got between Lawrence and Avery was trying to look to squeeze up the inside. Lawrence gets defensive again. Avery flicks to the outside line. This might leave the door open for James Coleman to come through. Meanwhile, we flick back into 924 territory. Pip Hammond has had a dogged little race so far, hasn't he? And Pip now up into second place. Green flag being shown after the Jamie Callender zone. Jamie, I think, okay. Car probably less so, but we hope that he'll be back out for our next round on Anglesey. Wonderful circuit, which I'm hoping is going to attract a terrific field. But there's Linda Warren. Didn't start on pole this time, but had a great start nonetheless. Driving standards flag going out. And you see very clear signals here at Castle Combe. A lot of the other circuits could take a leaf out of Castle Combe's book by having a clear indicator like that on the start-finish line. Absolutely no excuses for not seeing the signals. And we're back where we were in race number 1. Linda Warren, the leader in the 924s. Pip Hammond is there in second place and piling on the pressure. And he likes this wide line, does Pip Hammond. And it worked for him in race number 1. Jigs back in. Thinks about looking down the inside. He's really making Linda Warren aware of his presence here. But as you also heard Pip say, Linda really a lot more racy than he found at the start of the season. And I guess confidence at having had race wins, confidence at leading the championship, and Linda Warren really proving to be a star of this year's championship. Pip Hammond, though, piling the pressure on. That car, remember, was on the podium at Alt Park in the hands of Gavin Johnson. And terrific scrap for the lead of this 924s then, with Rick Styron still pulling away in the box. There's tighter line there from Pip Hammond. This just shows when you've got 2 very finely, evenly matched drivers how difficult it is to go past. Hammond goes wide. Going into cab corner, looking round the outside line. Linda Warren giving him room, but he doesn't have the momentum to go round that outside line. Now we'll dip down the inside and have a look there. Again, nothing doing. And these 2 well clear, absolutely clear of the field in this one. You've got Nizar El Chamar in purple over the back of Carl Rossin. John Broadley is in front now, and this is the view from Nizar, who makes up a position, goes up into 4th in class. So Niz is very much doing a James Coleman, or was it James Coleman doing a Niz from Alt Park? Either way, both very good drivers at working their way through the field. And Nizar up into 4th position in class. John Broadley, immediately ahead of him, is in 3rd and setting himself up for a podium. But Niz, I'm sure, having come through right from the back, 8th position in the 924, so a sterling drive from him as we go back to the battle for the lead. And Linda Warren still there, mirrors absolutely full of the 88 car, and we go on board with Pip Hammond again, keeping it tight here. No gaps for sure at the moment, coming down Dean Straight in towards Camp Corner once again. Pip seems to favour the wide line here. Linda's not leaving any gaps. Grabs the apex, wider line on the exit, going for the run down towards Folly. Is he going to be able to do it? Our camera is based at Folly Corner here, and he can't quite do it. He'll then head down into Avon Rise and down into Quarry, and Hammond again has a look, flicks over to the outside line. Outside line, is it going to work for him coming through Quarry? You've got to be a brave guy to attempt that. Doesn't quite work for him. Here's Nizar El Chamar, inside line on John Broadley. Third place in the 924, but Niz, I tell you what, that off in race 1 has not made Nizar cautious at all. Proper racing driver attack to the inside line, and Niz up into third place now ahead of John Broadley. Broadley booted off the podium in his new car, but what a drive we saw from John in race number 1 to take that podium. So up into second place now has gone James Coleman. Gary Lawrence is third. What's happened to Richard Avery, the man who set fastest lap in race number 1, is a little bit further back. There is Avery in the green and white car, now down in fourth place, still second in the championship. Ed Hayes is going to be dumped down the championship standings today for sure. Back with the leaders in the 924s. Linda Warren is still there at the moment, but Pip Hammond again taking that wide line through camp. He just can't get enough momentum and grip to make it stick round the outside, so flicks back to the inside line. Linda still hanging on to lead position as they head down towards Avon Rise. Again, is Pip going to have a look around the outside line? This is Avon Rise coming down into Quarry. Welcome back to Castle Combe, round 10 of the Tyre Tyres Porsche Championship organised by the BRSCC, and you rejoin this fantastic battle between Linda Warren, the class leader in the 924s, ahead of Pip Hammond, and Pip trying absolutely everything possible to get past Linda Warren at the moment. It's been clean, fair and fast. We said that about the battling in the Boxsters in race number 1, as you can see. It's the same here in the 924s, but up behind them is the lead Boxster, Rick Styrin, who didn't lap them in race number 1, has really got on the case in this one, and he's closing up. Now, the last thing that Rick Styrin will want to do is interfere with the lead battle, particularly for Linda Warren, who's, as you heard in the interviews after race 1, has been coaching Linda Warren here, but Styrin closing up big time now. The red car is Linda Warren, the blue car is, oh, and look at that, the guys are letting Styrin through, so Rick Styrin goes through. Effectively, it's almost like they switched off the battle just momentarily, but now Pip Hammond is getting back on the case, goes to the outside line of Linda Warren, who comes back across. Into the chicane they go. Rick Styrin is through, safe and sound. We've got James Coleman up in second place. We'll join the battle in a minute now. And Pip Hammond's going to go on the inside line, but Linda Warren wanted that bit of track. And Hammond's off on the grass. And Warren spins across onto the outside and nudges the barrier. Could have been worse, but it's bad enough for Linda. There we go. Racing incident, I would say, for sure. Here's the view from Linda. She just wanted that bit of track. Goes across the grass. You're a passenger at this stage. A glance on the barrier, but that's race over for Linda Warren. And after me saying that she'd finished every race first or second, and I apologise if that was the curse of the commentators, championship leader Linda Warren. On the plus side, if there is a plus side to such a thing, Linda would drop a phenomenal amount of points. If you finish first and second every race, it means that your drop scores are really punishing. So a retirement, given the way the championship's structured, Linda, I think, can afford that retirement as a drop score. So that's the only consolation I think Linda will take from that. Pip Hammond, I think, has rejoined in lead position after his skirmish. But, you know, Pip was saying that the whole thing was getting a lot more racy, and that proved to be the case. But we're back with Rick Styrin. He's the race leader, looking to make it 9 wins from 10 starts. James Coleman from the back of the Boxsters is there in second. He's going to add yet another podium to his collection after the retirement in race number 1. He's finished all the other races this year, although there was an exclusion at Snetterton in race number 1. Normally you can't drop an exclusion, so that would hurt his championship standings. But Rick Styrin, fastest lap of the race. That was back on lap 3, 1 minute 16.856, and that eclipsed Richard Avery's fastest lap from race number 1. So that's the fastest lap of the weekend so far. James Coleman has got the driver warning flag come out. Must admit, I really do love that signalling here at Castle Combe. Absolutely crystal clear for drivers and also officials. Coleman, I suspect, possibly for track limits, which is the usual cause these days of that signal. But Rick Styron very well on his way, the Yorkshireman showing the way once again, and with a good decent lead over James Coleman. Still got Gary Lawrence running in third position, the Leighton Buzzard man looking to make it 3 podia on the bounce here. 4th place in race 1 at Alton Park, but Lawrence very much a man in form at the moment. But Rick Styron still the leader, will extend the championship lead here in Wiltshire before we move a very long way up to the Isle of Anglesey. And if you want to plan a weekend away, I'll tell you what, that is one heck of a place to go. It's a wonderful circuit. And check out the Porsche Racing Drivers Association website, or the BRSCC website, to find out more details about that. It's a very friendly paddock, and a great weekend's racing ahead. Rick Styron, of course, will be hoping to add more wins to his collection. He's on the last lap, so just 1.85 miles to go around this fantastic Wiltshire circuit, and I'm sure that the Teo Tyres Porsche Championship will want to come back here and race here again. Styron's still clear, so it's Styron from Coleman, Gary Lawrence in third place, Richard Avery 4th, Kevin Molyneux still ahead of Nick Hull, Pip Hammond the leader in the 924s, and of course it means that Nizar El Chamar is now up to 2nd from the back of the grid. So both of the guys who were off in the early stages, the first start in race number 1, have both come through from the back of their respective groups into 2nd position. Coleman in the box, does Nizar El Chamar in the 924s, and I get many drivers talking to me when their heads drop after a little bit of bad luck, and you know what, I always say to them that things generally turn around and they'll get an opportunity, because it tends to get, good luck can be handed out in equal measures in life with bad luck, and that's exactly been proved for Nizar El Chamar over the last couple of rounds. But here comes Rick Styron around Camp Corner. There's the checkered flag, and Styron takes the win. He's absolutely delighted with that. James Coleman from the back of the pack into 2nd place. Gary Lawrence takes 3rd position, another podium for Gary. Richard Avery's back in 4th. Here's the man, though, who's going to make it 5 wins from 5 starts in the 924s. Pip Hammond takes the win, but not too far behind at all was Nizar El Chamar, again from the back of the 8 924s. Across the line comes Kevin Molyneux. Nick Hull, look at that, all over the back of him. Molyneux and Hull, fantastic racing all weekend between the pair. They've been trading places. And it's Richard Styron that takes another win here at Castle Combe. Round 10 of the championship to him, and fastest lap as well. James Coleman 2nd from Gary Lawrence, then Richard Avery. Kevin Molyneux in 5th from Nick Hull. And in the 924s, confirmation of the win for Pip Hammond from Nizar El Chamar. John Broadley completes the podium from Carl Rossin, and Bernie Printy in 5th. Fastest lap to race winner Pip Hammond.
Niz, a huge behind-the-scenes effort to get you back out for race 2. You did whoever worked for you proud out there today.
I know, I don't know whether I've gone under some ladders or broken some mirrors or done, I'm just having the worst luck. You know, first race is always something going on. Then massive effort, like you say, from the guys at Victoria Garage, Fudge and Dido. I mean, they did the miracles out there. And yeah, the car was drivable, I should say, you know, and I did my best and ended up P2, so it was good in the end.
Well, starting from the back or near the back certainly seems to fire you up, because you soared through the grid again to end up here on 2nd. I mean, I would obviously prefer to start from the front of the grid, but yeah, you know, you just got to be patient, you know, back there and pick the drivers up, you know, and pass them at the earliest opportunity. That's the trick, really. So predictions for getting the car back out in better shape, I hope. For Anglesey, what would you say? Oh, it's gonna have to happen. Obviously, I'm going for the championship, so I need to be at every round. So we will be there. The car will look much better and be nice and straight. So hopefully, we can carry on with the efforts out on track. Well, we look forward to seeing you there, Niz. Thank you very much. Darren, mechanic previous to this season, tell us why you made the decision to switch to behind the wheel. I just had one of those moments of, you know, if I'm going to be spending my weekends here, why not have a go? You know, it's first season out. And just try it, really. I mean, I enjoy the prep stuff and I enjoy working on the car, but I tried bikes years ago and just being on 4 wheels seemed like the next step really to do. So, How does that hands-on experience translate to setting the car up to go out racing?
That's a difficult one, because you set the car up for somebody else and how they feel, and it's trying to translate it how you feel it needs to be, and then trying to get it to do what you need it to do. So things like camber adjustment, fuel adjustments, things like that, you know, it kicks in, and I've got to think about what I would do for somebody else and why I'd do it for somebody else and what that translates to in the car. So if I get something wrong, I know it's my fault, whereas if it's down to somebody else, then it's my fault too. But you know, it all goes down to them doing the performance. So it's harder because you are doing both sides of everything, but it's nicer, great sense of achievement really.
So you're enjoying your season out there on track this year?
Absolutely. You know, if I didn't, I think I'd just go, I'm done, and I'll walk away and I'll go back on the spanners. But you know, having that mix and the pressure during the week of getting the car ready, making sure it's done, checking with other people throughout the group and seeing if they need help, you know, it's all good. We're all everyone's a team really. We all help one another out. But I think, you know, the racing is becoming more and more enjoyable. Massive grin factor. It's an easy class. It's an easy class, but it's a good class to start off in. You know, I may progress to Boxsters, but I think 2 years at least in the 924s, because it's fun, you know, and that's what we're here for.
Good. Well, it sounds as though you plan to see out the full season this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I might miss Holyhead because of work commitment. Holyhead, Anglesey from work commitments, but you know, I'm going to try to get there. I'll break my neck to get there, literally, and see what we do. So it'll be good fun.
Well, let's hope that's not literally, that we see you at Anglesey. If not, best of luck with the rest of the championship when you are back out.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Jamie, such high hopes for the weekend. Your views on Castle Combe?
Still my home track. Still love it, but today it bit, and slight minor contact with Carl, and that's the result. That's the result. So overall, it was a good weekend. Today not so good, but get it back and get it rebuilt, ready to go again.
So you're hoping to be out at Anglesey?
Fingers crossed. If it's not Anglesey, it'd definitely be Donington. It'd be one of the two, no doubt. And yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the damage. I mean, some of it's obvious. Is there anything that's beneath the surface not so obvious?
Chassis straight, which is the main thing. The chassis rails are straight. Wishbone's flipped upside down pretty much. The shock, everything in the shock absorbers are okay. So it's going to be wing, front end, and inner wing. So repairable. But yeah, just doesn't look pretty at the moment.
A lot of work. Are there going to be enough hours in the day?
We'll find time. I'm sure we'll find time. Get it back out, get it tested, hopefully, and then podium.
Definitely. I'll hold you to that. See you in Anglesey.
Lovely job. Thank you very much. Bye.
Well, let's hope we will be seeing Jamie and the rest of the grid all out at Anglesey. Join us next time to see how things turn out.